Caitlin Clark's prospects are looking increasingly uncertain as the shadow of free agency looms large. The Indiana Fever star could be on the verge of losing some vital teammates, notably veteran shooting guard Kelsey Mitchell, who has been a stalwart supporter over the past season. Since being drafted in the 2018 WNBA draft, Mitchell has remained a key player for the Fever, enduring some of the franchise's toughest seasons without a playoff appearance. Now currently in China with the Shanxi Flame, Mitchell's focus is on the upcoming 2025 WNBA season, yet a cloud of indecision hovers over her return to the Fever. A two-time All-Star, Mitchell candidly shared her uncertainty in a recent interview with the Players Tribune, stating, "I'll be honest, I don't know what colors I'll be wearing next year." Her eagerness to explore the free agency process adds another layer of intrigue, as she remarks, "I've never been through free agency, so I'm looking forward to the opportunity to explore that for the first time in my career and have a say in my future as a basketball player." Lynn Dunn, the Fever's senior advisor, emphasized the franchise's intention to keep Mitchell in the fold. Kelly Krauskopf, the Fever's president of basketball operations, echoed her sentiments, saying, "Yes, we do have the opportunity to core her. And it would be sort of irresponsible of me if we didn't utilize that opportunity." However, the Fever must also factor in the upcoming negotiations for the collective bargaining agreement in 2025. With these negotiations on the horizon, players eligible for it may seek annual contracts, setting the stage for potential renegotiations or shifts in team allegiances in 2026 as the new agreement could see an uptick in salaries and benefits. This burgeoning complexity adds yet another layer of uncertainty for Mitchell as she contemplates her future with the Fever. Fans and analysts alike will be keenly following her next moves, as both player and franchise navigate this pivotal moment. Flaugy Johnson has heated up rumors the Indiana Fever could be looking to sign her after she showered new head coach Stephanie White with praise. Johnson has quickly made a mark as a key player for the LSU Tigers at college level, leading to speculation about her future in the WNBA. As the 21-year-old is eligible to be picked in the 2025 draft, a link-up between herself and 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark at the Fever could be on the cards, especially given her past with White. Speaking on the Fever's latest appointment during a recent installment of her Best of Both Worlds podcast, Johnson said, "Let me tell y'all, the Fever, the Indiana Fever having Stephanie White as a head coach. I really like that, I love that. I feel like she is a player's coach. I even remember when she was recruiting me at Vanderbilt, I was like, I like this lady, I want to go play for her." White was leading Vanderbilt at the time that Johnson was stepping up from Sprayberry High School to the world of college basketball, but by the time that the youngster had made her mind up on joining Louisiana State, White had stepped back from her role. And Johnson also admitted that if White was still a part of the Vanderbilt setup, she would have thought hard about joining the college to play under her. She added, "I tried to go where I like the people and she seemed like a good coach." Since embarking on her collegiate career, Johnson has collected a number of accolades including last year's NCAA championship with LSU, the SEC's Freshman of the Year, and the McDonald's All-American Award in 2022. In the 2023-24 season as a sophomore, Johnson averaged 76.9% from free throws, as well as 5.5 rebounds, 2.1 steals, 2 turnovers and a block per game, as well as an overall of 14.9 points per game, nodding to a stellar career to come in the future. White parted ways with Vanderbilt in 2021, taking 2 years off before returning as the head coach of Connecticut Sun for the 2023-24 season. She successfully guided the side to a second-place finish in the WNBA's Eastern Conference this season, with a record of 28 wins and 12 losses. Having spent 4 years as a player for the Fever between 2000 and 2004, she was announced as the side's new head coach at the turn of November, replacing Christy Sides, who led the side to its first playoff since 2016 but saw her side defeated by White's. Speaking on her appointment, White said, "I am incredibly proud and honored to return home to Indiana and lead the Fever during such a pivotal moment in this franchise's history, as well as during such an important time throughout women's athletics. This franchise has and always will be committed to winning, and I look forward to working every day to help deliver another WNBA title to the greatest basketball fans in the world." Should Johnson be drafted to the Fever, she would have the chance of teaming up with 22-year-old Clark, who took the WNBA by storm in 2024 by breaking a number of all-time records in her rookie campaign. Selected by Indiana as the WNBA's first overall pick of the draft, Clark wasted no time in proving her value to the side. She received 66 of the 67 total votes to become the WNBA's Rookie of the Year, after bagging the most points and assists as a rookie in a single season, as well as becoming the fastest female to break the 100 three-pointers mark. While the WNBA is still in the offseason, Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark has focused her attention on an entirely different sport, golf. Clark made her Pro-Am debut in the LPGA's The Annika in Florida on Wednesday. While it was obvious that her swing needed more work, the Fever guard enjoyed herself. A few weeks from now, the 22-year-old Clark is expected to fully refocus on her sophomore season in the WNBA, where she will be under the tutelage of returning Fever coach Stephanie White. Clark will be in the second year of her 4-year, $338,000 contract with the Fever, who selected her as the #1 overall pick. Her agent, Erin Kane, shed light on negotiating deals for the Rookie of the Year, who has increasingly become one of the most in-demand athletes today. As far as clients like Caitlin, she's one of one, and so it really is just about setting the market, said Kane on the Diggin' Deep podcast on Wednesday. There's this idea that agents have all the control, or you could just say something and make it into reality. But the reality is you're reading the situation. Kane added that Clark's appeal has brought her to the same tier as other famous female athletes. There's a handful of players that have ignited this level of excitement by being incredible at what they do, said Kane. But also, it's how they do it. Serena Williams, or you can pick, it's the iconic athletes, Simone Biles, especially when it's women. And Caitlin is one of those. How she plays the game, how she captured the attention of a much broader fan base. Clark, who became a nationwide sensation during his days at Iowa, has numerous endorsements, including Nike, Gatorade, and Wilson, which recently released her new series of basketballs, just to name a few. Welcome to For the Win's 2024 WNBA Offseason Coaching Changes Tracker, where we try to keep every twist and turn straight in a running list so you don't have to. If you've been keeping a pulse on the WNBA's offseason movement, it's been a wild time since the season ended on September 19. At one point, there were 7 head coach openings, 9 if you include expansion teams, and if you include the general manager vacancies, that's another 3 slots, 5 with expansion squads. Madness. In other words, this seismic shift in the WNBA landscape is a hot mess expressed to understand, and if you don't have a running list, you might get lost. So, we've got you covered with the latest movements. Early this year, the Indiana Fever quietly shifted former general manager Lynn Dunn to a senior advisor role with the team, and brought in Amber Cox to be the team's new general manager. They also ousted head coach Christy Sides after 2 seasons in favor of a familiar face, former Connecticut Sun coach Stephanie White. White essentially returned home to Indiana, where she had a ton of ties. Fever team president Kelly Krauskopf drafted her during the 2000 expansion draft, and she was an assistant coach under Lynn Dunn when the Fever won a championship in 2012. Krauskopf also gave White her first head coach job in 2015, leading the Fever. It includes maximizing our talent and bringing another WNBA championship back to Indiana, the Indiana Fever president of basketball operations Kelly Krauskopf had spoken while firing Christy Sides. And in their hopes of finding the next championship-winning coach, the Fever stumbled on their reliable ex-star Stephanie White. However, famous journalist Annie Costable, who was the first to break the news of White's move, revealed that the events were set in motion with the Chicago Sky. On Friday's episode of Locked On Women's Basketball, Costable shared her take on White's eventual transfer to the Indiana Fever, while the host Jackie Powell revealed how that will be costing Fever more than $1 million. Yeah. So honestly, it started because the Sky were looking for a coach, right? So you start contacting your sources about who could be available and who this guy would even be interested in, Costable stated. The Sky failed to qualify for the playoffs this year and had an abysmal time after the Olympics break, as their main star, Angel Reese, was injured. The Chicago-based team finished with a 13-27 tally, and once that happened, there were reports that their head coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, would be leaving the franchise. And so the first piece of information I got was just that Stephanie White might not return to the Connecticut Sun, and so that was kind of a big question, Constable revealed. At the same time, there were also reports that White might not stay with the Connecticut Sun for long. Furthermore, the reporter pointed out that coaches and athletes must be comfortable with losing their job. Even if you're great at your job, you can be poached at any time. And that's not shameful. That's not wrong. Furthermore, she was open to the idea that the participants should have the freedom to move to other avenues without having to tiptoe around it. Like by any means necessary means. By any means necessary, and it's okay for women's sports teams to be that competitive. White had been with the Connecticut Sun for 2 seasons, taking the Connecticut-based franchise to 2 semifinals. Unfortunately, White's mentees lost to the New York Liberty by 3-1 in 2023 and to the Minnesota Lynx by 3-2 in 2024, respectively. While White also bagged the WNBA Coach of the Year in her first season itself, there were reports that she wouldn't be completing her 3-year contract. And so when I first heard oh, can Stephanie might not return to the Sun, my thought was do the Sky really have a shot at her, right? Because the Sky history since winning their title has been anything but glamorous. And has been anything but top tier, Constable enumerated. Meanwhile, the Sky won only a single championship and conference title in 2021 and 2014, respectively. And compared to them, the Fever provided a place of familiarity with White, having played for them from 2000 to 2004. And when you're talking about a coach like Stephanie, she's a top-tier coach. So for me it really started with again trying to understand the landscape that included the Sky and Constable enunciated. Plus, she was also the assistant coach from 2011-14, a period in which the Fever won the championship title, 2012. To top that, White had also been the head coach from 2015 and 2016 and achieved incredible results, taking the team to the WNBA Finals in 2015. Therefore, all this further enhanced the chances of the Fever reuniting with White. However, other factors at play got the 47-year-old to return to Indiana. And once I started to hear where Stephanie was? Who? Which team? Stephanie was talking to, it kind of became clear, okay. This is where she's gonna end up, right? She's from Indiana. Family obviously was a huge factor in her decision. Constable found her eureka moment. One of the major deciding factors for White was that she was away from Indiana and her immediate family. As part of the blended family, her partner Lisa Salters and their 4 growing sons had to be away from the former Vanderbilt coach. The Illinois-born also revealed that it was difficult to be with the Sun because I did not see my children a lot from the time they went back to school in August until I got home in October. Plus, she also added that the Sun wouldn't want to be pegged as the team that won't let that's holding someone. Hence, it became clear that there were actually going to be opportunities to make that happen. It's the Fever made all the sense in the world, she concluded. While fans are happy that she has gotten back to her family, some are calling it impatience, especially since she had a year of coaching left at the Sun, and this will cost Indiana a fortune. As mentioned, White was hired as the head coach in hopes of taking the Fever to another championship title. Previously, she was the assistant coach when the Fever won their only championship title in 2012. Then, during her tenure as the head coach, she took the Fever to the WNBA Finals in 2015 and then to the WNBA playoffs the next year, which was the only time before this season that the team had qualified for the elimination round. Thus, the Fever hoped that White would help them clinch another title. However, that has come with its own cost. Stephanie White has returned to Indiana. The Indiana Fever are making moves. They let their head coach Christy Sides go. They are gonna be paying Stephanie White's final year on her Sun contract and Christy Sides' final 2 years. So clearly they have the money to do this, Powell divulged. According to Powell, the Fever will have to pay White's salary, which she would have gotten during her final year with the Sun. While the Sun did not publicly reveal the details of the contract, the Indiana-based franchise will also be paying Sides the salary of the final 2 years, as she had those many years left on her contract. And according to reports, the Fever were paying $500,000 a year. Thus, White's wish to be with her family, coupled with Fever's aspirations to win the title, will cost them $1 million at least. wnba prodigy Caitlin Clark has been a breath of fresh air for the Indiana Fever, and it looks like her new coach Stephanie White could be one too. Clark, 22, has emerged as women's basketball's brightest star following a stellar first season with the Fever that earned her the Rookie of the Year award. Despite her outstanding contributions, however, the team failed in their quest to clinch their first WNBA championship since 2012, bowing out in an early playoff tussle against the Connecticut Sun. After firing Christy Sides, the Fever unveiled White, 47, as her replacement. And according to NBC Sports pundit Terica Foster Brasby, the former Connecticut coach could have a swift and profound influence on her new team, both on and off the court. Fever supporters have developed a reputation for having a sour outlook, and Brasby thinks that could change with White at the helm. She's most certainly not going to stand for any of the negativity that had been associated with Fever fans, she said while speaking to On Her Turf. And we know it's not all the fans, but there were certain ones who use the Fever name to kind of spew things that just do not stand for what the WNBA stands for. Stephanie White is always outspoken on those sorts of things, and that's never going to be something she'll put up with. She's never going to tolerate it. Brasby also feels White will build optimism and morale in the Fever locker room, adding, "From an off-the-court standpoint, I think the culture will absolutely change. I didn't cover Indiana on a regular basis to know whether there was a negative culture there, but White brings a culture of winning, of confidence, of understanding your public face." On the court, Brasby predicts a transformation in Indiana's defensive game. "I know one thing, Steph White loves a quick, fast-paced offense," she said. "It was difficult to do that at Connecticut, they were an older team. Well, this is a much younger team, so that offensive style should actually work well here." The other thing we say with Connecticut was their commitment to defense. And that defensive presence was very important to their success. That means that this Fever team is going to have to buy in on being stronger defensively, no matter how well we want to give Caitlin Clark her flowers, and we should. We also have to be honest that their defense was not the strongest for this Fever team, and specifically Caitlin Clark. That's where I think Steph will make an immediate impact. She will implement a structure that everyone is going to have to be committed to. This implies that Clark's game could undergo a significant transformation next season, as White aims to establish a reputation for solid defense and organization at the franchise. Will this be beneficial or detrimental to the young prodigy? Only time will tell.